I'm so tired of people saying that it's just a movie, it's just a comic book, it's just a TV show. No, it's not. Stories are the building blocks of our culture, of ourselves, even of our own psychology. We are a product of the stories we tell ourselves about our own past and the experiences on a daily basis, but also the stories that we choose to spend time with. What types of values or feelings or whatever are they promoting? What types that we like to spend our time around? They're going to shape us. They're going to shape our personality and character, and they're going to shape our perception of the world and the acts and behaviors that we put out into the world. And people don't understand that. They go, it's just a movie. It's just this. I can like and promote whatever I want. Well, of course you can, but you should pay attention to the responsibility that you have.
Consume stories responsibly.
As a member of society, as a human being, responsibility to yourself.
Consider the consequences.
You need some balance. You need some certain criteria that is going to make sure you're promoting the right kind of works, or at least have thought through the type of work that this or that story is going to do in our culture, and then make your own decision whether or not that's something you want to support.
Consume stories responsibly. Consider the consequences. Consume stories responsibly.
Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel. Sorry, I was eating some pretzels and drinking a little soda beforehand, and something went down the wrong pipe, so I was hacking and coughing. I was like, oh crap, I gotta get this out before the video promo ends. So anyway, welcome to the channel. Welcome to another Office Hours live stream. Back again. It will be an interesting stream. Don't really have a topic, so just doing kind of a Q&A and, you know, a couple things maybe to talk about, but we will see how long it goes and how long I have the energy for. Definitely ready for a break this week. It's been a very busy week. I'm napped up though, so we'll see how it goes. Welcome to the chat. First of all was Nathaniel Zalozball, Darth Enigma, Ghost Planet Max Inc. Welcome. Nathaniel Zalozball, you're asking about thoughts on Nintendo's Direct earlier this week. No clue what that means. I don't follow Nintendo, so I don't really know what you're talking about there. If it's something specific, let me know. The only Nintendo news I know is Haunted Mansion, Luigi's Haunted Mansion 2 was released this month for the Switch, which is really cool because it's an old classic game. They brought that back. And then Sound Engraver showed me a really cool trailer for a game called, I think it's Mario Luigi Brothership, I think it's called, which is weird, title. But and the gameplay looked kind of fun, but we were both just so excited that their Mario and Luigi's classic Italian accents are back for that game. None of this Chris Pratt bullcrap that everybody just rolled over and showed their bellies for in the movie. So that was cool. That was cool to see. Andre Hernandez, welcome. Ran out of cool titles for the stream. Yeah, I just I had no topic really. All in one. Andre Hernandez said, have you heard the new Marvel vs. Capcom collection? No, I didn't. I never really got into those. The only, fight games like, Mortal Kombat, or I remember playing some of the old Street Fighters were kind of fun back in the day. But that was really it. I'm not so much into the versus, platform kind of fight game. The only one I thought was kind of fun was DC versus Mortal Kombat that came out for the PS3 so long ago. That was fun because you could play a story mode, even though it was still versus. And it was one of the last DC games to just not pull any crap with their costumes, to just put them all in the costumes that we know and love them from the comics. Don't pull any crap. Don't think, well, we're going to update it. Oh, we're going to modernize it. All the characters were their classic iconic costumes. So that was pretty fun. Mike Pine, good to see you. Big Al popping in to say hello. Electric Barbarella, welcome. Imaginative Hobbyist, Leia Plus Size, a Chol. All right. The Cartoon Network on MeTV. I know that there's like a MeTV Tunes channel, but I don't know a lot about it. But I followed their Facebook group. It looks pretty cool. A lot of classic stuff. Kind of like, doing what Boomerang used to do, which was such a great show. Man, when Boomerang, I mean, Cartoon Network was great when it first came out too, but then when Boomerang decided it was going to break off and do all of the classic tunes, the classic Hanna-Barbera, I remember, what is it, Fridays and Saturday nights, or one of those nights, Boomer Action on Boomerang. It was Johnny Quest, it was, Super Friends and Space Ghost and all that kind of, oh man, that was good. Those are great times. And they're gone. They're gone forever. No one plays that good stuff, like that anymore anyway. Let's see. Comic Skater, welcome. And so many more. Studio Super, good to see you there. Eldridge Fan, popping in. All right. Samuel Proctor, channel member, says, let me throw him up on the, as I'm supposed to, throw the channel member up on the screen. Just got home from my grandma, where my uncle gave me his old 35mm film camera after saying I'm going into film photography. After saying I'm going to film. That's cool. That's awesome. Film photography. What do you mean, like still photos photography or like cinematography? Cool either way though. Excellent. Good luck to you. All right. Eldridge Fan keeping us updated on his no women Jedi rule. Yes, I'm writing, undecided on whether there should be no women Jedi or if my Jedi should be majority male with the very rare occasional female Jedi. Any thoughts? Are you talking about writing because you were talking about one time a fiction that was kind of like Jedi-like, or are you talking about writing straight up Star Wars fiction? I'm not opposed to a female Jedi here and there. I think we Shakti was a great one. I think and just in terms of the Clone War era or prequel, Clone War era there. Who were some of the of course, Bastila. Bastila's great. And I like Satele Shan, Bastila's granddaughter. She was great too. So yeah, I don't mind them, but again, I think that I don't think the Jedi Order should be overrun by women. Definitely not. Yeah. So I don't know if that's what you're asking, but I do want to mention here too that I am still open right now for editing. I can do some editing work on manuscripts. That might change somewhat soon. I am excuse me. As I mentioned, I do work for some university writing centers and stuff like that, tutoring some papers and whatnot when I'm not teaching, for the usual fall and spring semesters. And I am going to be teaching or doing some more tutoring like that, tutoring papers and whatnot, coming up pretty soon. So if you were kind of thinking about maybe taking me up on the editing, you might want to do that sooner than later. And, you can just drop me the email. I'll put my email in the chat again. But because I don't know how much free time I'm going to have once I start taking on this new load of tutoring as well for the summer. But, shoot, can't talk and type at the same time. Is that right there? Right. I think so. Okay. So there it is in the chat. The email to drop me a message. But, editing, I talk about the importance of editors and having good editors all the time. But I'll just say one more thing for it. I watched a movie recently, Rio Lobo. It's a John Wayne film. I think it was like 1970, maybe. And it's one of Howard Hawks' last films. I think it was his last Western. And Howard Hawks, one of my favorite directors ever. He was just so prolific, so great. I mean, Howard Hawks was so versatile too. I mean, he did the original The Thing, so he's got horror under his belt. Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, musicals, screwball comedy with Bringing Up Baby, film noir, detective stuff with The Big Sleep. Of course, he did a lot of great westerns, Red River, Rio Bravo, Rio Lobo. He did another one with Robert Mitchum and John Wayne that I'm blanking on right now. But just a really prolific and very versatile storyteller. And the cool thing about Howard Hawks' movies is that even if the script or even if the plot was a little subpar in this way or that way, for example, like Big Sleep, they made some changes in the movie from the book, which I think maybe they were kind of mandated from the studio or censors or whatever. You can get into it, which just made the movie not quite as cool of a plot as the book. But it doesn't matter. Even if the plot, all of his plots are good. But even if the plot wasn't as great as it could be or something like that, you still loved it because Howard Hawks has this charm in his films. He knows how to direct characters. He knows really how to work with actors and pull the good characters out of them. And it's just great. He does that all the time. So I was watching Rio Lobo because it's one film that I hadn't seen of his. Again, I think the last Western he ever did. He was older at that point. And it's a fun watch. It's a great watch. If you like Howard Hawks, if you like John Wayne Westerns, really great. But there are some issues with it. The lead actress, Jennifer O'Neill, I think her name is, just isn't quite up to snuff with the legends that she's playing around, Jack Elam, John Wayne, and so forth. Plus, Howard Hawks likes one of his tropes of his movies. He's an auteur. One of the things you can look for in a lot of Howard Hawks films is a quirky, strong female character. You saw this Angie Dickinson's character in Rio Bravo, Katharine Hepburn in Bringing Up Baby, Marilyn Monroe, Kate Russell in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, Lauren Bacall in The Big Sleep. But and those characters are great. They're funny, they're fun. They tend to kind of push along the main character, our hero. Not in a maybe they irritate him a little bit, but it's in a way that you get some good friction, you get some good back and forth. But Jennifer O'Neill's character in Rio Lobo was just too much. Just took that too much. She's not quite a Mary Sue or anything, but she's like uncomfortably close to that level. And you can tell what happened was this is a legendary filmmaker, storyteller, Howard Hawks, making one of his last movies. At that point, he's Howard Hawks. Nobody's going to tell him to tone down the script or to do this or that differently. The studio, whatever. But, he's Howard Hawks, so you can't really edit him anymore. And as a result, I think we had a character in that movie, as fun as that movie is, and as much as I love that movie, we had a character who was a little out of control, I think, just in some areas. A little grating in some areas, whereas usually his female characters aren't that. And that's it's a little thing, but it got me thinking of a point that I've probably made before at some point in the years of my YouTube channel, that no matter how good you think you are as a writer or how good you think your manuscript is, however many, whatever, you need an editor. Especially if you think you don't need one. That's all the more reason that you need one. Everybody needs an editor. Editors need editors. I certainly would never send off anything of mine to be read by the masses before I had a professional editing editor look at it. And it's think about J.K. Rowling, the Harry Potter books. The later the books in the series, the less well written they were. And her prose style, she's not some great prose stylist anyway. But I think around the third book or whatever, suddenly it's just like she's the great J.K. Rowling. She's of Harry Potter fame at that point. So the editors really couldn't tell her anything, and suddenly her books are just packed with a lot more stuff, and they're getting so much longer, and so many things they don't need, and some things maybe you should take this off a little bit here, there, or whatever. And that's a problem. So on the one hand, thinking about, let's say you were a successful writer and you made it all the way there, never get too big for your britches there. But believe it or not, I know a lot of writers on the ground floor of their, writing career here, whether it's going to take off monetarily or not. And they just think that, no, I know what's best. I know what's best. And even writers sometimes who have hired me for manuscripts will argue with me about things. And of course, any changes to be made is ultimately the writer's decision. I'm just an editor giving you ideas, but you want to give assent to someone's experience, in general anyway. Anyway, just the importance of editors. They're necessary. And if you'd like me to edit your work, put the email in the chat there. Just drop me a line, but do it soon because I might not have as much time later as I do now. if my new tutoring position goes through as well on top of what I'm doing now. Studio Super, thank you so much for the super chat. Very much appreciate that. You said you heard of that undercover reporter getting the lowdown on Disney's discrimination practices towards white males. We all knew this, but this comes straight from the horse's mouth. I didn't hear about that. because I just don't follow anything Disney, but it doesn't shock me at all. Yeah, it's just like, okay, so finally you guys realize what the, like you said, what the rest of us have known. Yeah, that doesn't shock me at all. I mean, that's that this is what, it started back in the day with affirmative action. Oh, how dare you speak against affirmative action? Affirmative action is the way that we and ensure that minorities are getting positions and so forth. No, affirmative action, and it went to colleges too. I think colleges have finally done away with it now, or at least legally they don't have to go for this. But the idea that in your work, in your place of employment or your place of education or whatever, you had to have so many employees or students of this race, of that race, of this sexual orientation or gender identified or whatever. It just kept snowballing to the point where it's just the reality of it. I mean, it's just a fact. If that's your deciding factor, or if you've got that rule set in place, you can't worry about quality of the individual or quality or qualification of the employee or student. That can't be your main factor anymore. It can maybe be one of the factors in hiring or letting a student in or whatever, but it's not the main one anymore because you've got a quota to tick off, And when you look at a company like Disney, who's just completely overrun top to bottom by a bunch of ideologues. Oh yeah, I mean, white heterosexual males are to be spit upon. They don't have any intersectional feminism credit. They don't have any punches on their victim card. They are the evil villains. They are the bad guys, which is why it's just so pathetic when you see super, white heteronormative liberal thinkers or whatever, males who are just trying to like apologize for their masculinity, every corner. It's just pathetic. Michael Scambati, channel member, thank you, sir. Did you see Professor Geek, did you see the Penguin trailer? And are you excited? I'm a big Sopranos fan, hoping it's good. This is the Matt Reeves Penguin thing. No, I heard they were making it a while ago. I don't care about that universe, the Matt Reeves universe. Maybe the Penguin series will be good. I don't know, whatever. That's not Batman to me. I thought it had a chance when they announced that Matt Reeves was making it, and Matt Reeves, the Batman in general, and Matt Reeves was saying the right things about it, right? He was saying, he wanted to go more of like a film noir take or something like that. Hey, that was possibly kind of cool. But no, his Batman is not for me at all. It's not Batman. It's the aesthetics of it are just straight up ugly. Everybody's trying to make excuses for it. The stupid Batmobile is just a souped up Camaro or whatever. It's like, no, you're freaking Bruce Wayne. You'd have the money to do this stuff right, and but he's learning how to do it. He's still shut up. And plus, just him being so brutal and so, angry little punk kid bent on revenge. No, but the movie, you missed the ending. The movie's about him learning that he has to be a symbol. Shut up. Batman doesn't have to learn that he has to be a symbol. Batman should be his own variation of aspirational. Certainly a darker, a gothic detective, a dark knight, Knight, certainly. But anyway, all of that made me not care about that universe. So, I don't know anything about, what is it, Colin Farrell who does Penguin? I think I've got that name right. Maybe he was a great Penguin. I don't know. So maybe, yeah, I don't know anything about the series coming up. It's a deal breaker for me because it's set in that universe. So, I won't be watching it myself, but thanks for letting me know the trailer's out. I did not know that. Oh yeah, you guys are bringing up great. I'm just behind on the chat there because I'm going through and looking for things. Barris Offee, yeah, Mara Jade. Jaina Solo, of course. Yeah, I was thinking more of like the prequel era there, before the original trilogy. But yeah, definitely. Samuel Proctor said, Professor Geek still. Okay, you're doing still photos, but also have your grandma's Super 8 from Vietnam that I'm going to use pretty soon to make short films. That's awesome. Yeah, I love the old look of films. Photography, and I've talked about this. I I'm very much against this idea, this push that we need 4K restorations of every movie, made, in the last century or whatever. I mean, that's fine if that's your thing. I've talked about this. I think you might even disagree with me a little bit, Samuel Proctor. But, I want to see a movie made in the 70s or 80s as the director meant for me to see it. And that means on a film, on a movie theater screen in that day. Now, it is true that the 4K cameras and all this kind of stuff, or the 4K restorations, they're going back and finding all the information that was there in the film, and they're crystallizing it and making it all clear and everything like that. Yeah, but that's not the image that the director even knew was possible, or the cinematographer or whatever knew was possible to see one day when they were shooting that film. So I'd rather see it a little grainy. I'd rather see it exactly the way they thought you were going to see it, because that's more their artistic vision and whatnot. And television is that way too. I mentioned, I think at some point, that I discovered Pluto TV, which is an app. You give them your email and you set up an account, and you can watch a lot of stuff for free. It's where I've been watching a lot of classic Westerns on. They play you some ads here and there, whatever. They're also very much geared towards older people, so the ads are like, for back pain or your 401k and, all this kind of stuff. And, but they've got a lot of cool classic shows. They got Mission Impossible, and I've been watching some of the old Western shows as well as the Westerns, Have Gun, Will Travel, Wild West, Rifleman, and stuff like that. But they also have Matlock on there, and I don't care what anybody says. I loved Matlock. I remember growing up with Matlock always on. And the thing about the Pluto TV is they're just playing, I guess, whatever prints they have of these shows. They're not always crystal clear. So like the Matlock channel that they have, for example, it looks like I'm watching an old CRTV in the 80s, and I love it. I wouldn't change it for a moment. I don't want that looking crystal clear. I want it looking exactly like I saw that in the 80s. It was great. So yeah, even though that's technically a different kind of application than what you're saying there, I do support you looking for going to some classic looks and everything. That's awesome. Let's see. I got another. Oh, AL is here. Good to see you. Spidey rules. Got another super chat here I wanted to get before I miss these. Studio Super said, to all watching, I recommend Pruff for editing. Good to get fresh eyes on your story, and he will make sure characters behave consistently with character archetypes and behaviors. Pruff has that down to a T. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's fun editing fiction for me. That's the thing that I was really trained for the most, or that I was the most eager to learn about, fiction writing, how to write fiction, and by the process, the best way to learn how to write fiction is to learn how to critique fiction, So yeah, I do teach, college composition writing, and I do teach, which I love, but the funnest thing for me is to look at a fiction manuscript, whether it's a comic script or a prose piece or a film script or whatever, and talk about that. That's the best for me. The prose, nature of it too, getting tight, concise prose, and or prose that serves the story, and then the tension, the pacing, character development, as you said. Yeah, I love that stuff. I see some people saying hi to Fan Man. He's popped in. Hey, Fan Man, good to see you here. Just here to remind everyone that Kathleen Kennedy is still the worst. She is, but I'm to the point where I don't really see her as worse than anybody else at Disney at this point. Kathleen Kennedy, Dave Filoni, Bob Iger. I don't know. I can never be sure with Fan Man. He's always trying to lay some sort of trap for me. On his Facebook today, Fan Man put a cover photo where he'd photoshopped an old author photo of me at like a con, and he photoshopped like Kathleen Kennedy sitting at the table next to me. And I knew he's doing it for, oh, yeah, you see that? So, whatever. I was busy. I just ignored it. And a little later, he like commented on it to like see if it shows up in my thread. And later on, he sends a message. Hey, Prof, how's your weekend? It's like, not giving you the satisfaction, man. But yes, great to see you here. Good for popping in. Thank you, sir. John Gonzalez for $20. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that support. Said, I'm writing a book with a hero and anti-hero for an alliance to fight evil in their city. Okay, so a hero and anti-hero form an alliance to fight evil in their city. Any thoughts on how I can play that dynamic? I want to set anti-hero on an arc to become more heroic rather than just vengeance. Yeah, so that's I mean, you've got the arc right there then. The two couldn't work together but so long and so far without one sacrificing their ideals to the other. You know, you can have sort of uneasy alliances like that for a time, and either character remains the archetype of either character. But if you're going to have it, you know, for a prolonged partnership or, you know, a very serious kind of thing, one's going to make some sacrifices, if not both. So you've got that down. You want the anti-hero to become a little more heroic to whatever extent. Great. I would say just your hero, decide on whether you want your hero to be aspirational or cathartic motivational, because that's going to be a big deal. An aspirational hero working with a anti-hero could be very, very interesting, but it's going to be a little bit harder of a sell. You know, that's kind of like what's an anti-hero in the DC universe? I'm trying to think. Well, let me look in the Marvel universe. Right, it's kind of like Captain America working with Deadpool. Okay, it can be done, but it's going to be some a little more fine tuning, you know, for an aspirational hero to work with an anti-hero. Except a cathartic motivational hero, that's more like Spider-Man working with Deadpool, which happens quite often. You know, easier dynamic. Either one's good. Either one's great. Yeah, without knowing any more, that's about all I can say. But good idea. Very cool idea. Keep pursuing it. Elf Runner, good to see you there. Bradley Renfro says, I actually argued with someone who tried to use Burton's Batman killing as an excuse for Bat Punisher killing in Snyder films. And I tried to tell them that Burton didn't put much thought into it. Yeah, you know, it's so annoying when people bring that up too, and they're like, you know, you hypocrite, you know, Burton. First of all, no one's saying that Burton's Batman was the perfection, iconic Batman. That's what we should all, you know. No, of course there were problems in those movies, and there were problems that were pointed out even when they were made the films. But like you said, didn't put much thought into it. Burton wasn't trying to really glorify and keep the camera on that moment. Yeah, Burton made the conscious decision to have Batman, you know, like when he explodes the factory and you see people are still in there, or in Batman Returns when he puts the bomb in the guys, you know, the clowns. But Burton's feel or aesthetic, you know, style of the film wasn't this dark, gritty. It was a little more comic bookish, you know, even though back then they were thinking that was very dark and very real, you know, compared to something like Schumacher that came later. The focus wasn't on that. So if you weren't really thinking about it or watching it too, you know, with too much of a fine-tooth comb, you didn't even think about it much. Whereas Snyder has said he wants people to know that being a hero is not fun. It's not funny. He wants you to see the gritty, the horror of it. You know, there's a scene in Watchmen where the guy, like, I think Night Owl, breaks a guy's arm or whatever. And he's like, I wanted you to hear the crunch. I wanted you to know what real visceral thing is happening here, you know? And so Snyder is gonna showcase that and spotlight it and try to even glorify it. If not, at least ask you, yeah, but is it really wrong? You know, I mean, that's Snyder's, like, that's his fetish. It's ridiculous. Yeah, as you finish saying in your next comment, yeah, but Snyder was doing it on purpose. Then they just an argument to the Snyder vision, exactly. Just making sure we never forget that Kathleen Kennedy's the worst. I don't know. Knowing Fan Man, he's probably dropping comments to get me to say something so that he can record my voice and edit together some humiliating thing or something. Michael Schimbati said, when will you say was the last great Batman story? I heard people say stop after No Man's Land, Chuck Dixon, Doug Lynch, Alan Grant. I don't know if I can point a specific time. I know that my own last, in terms of chronology, interesting Batman stories, excuse me, was during the Rebirth era. No, I'm not talking about Tom King's Batman. Although, when Batman Rebirth started, Tom King was telling some pretty good stories, and then it became clear that he was moving towards the marriage, and then that became clear that he was trying to do a bait and switch and a deconstruction and, working out all of Tom King's garbage self traumas through the character, which is just horrible. But during Batman Rebirth, I mean, the DC Trinity Rebirth, Batman's appearance in the Detective Comics Rebirth, that was a lot of fun. You had Batwoman trying to put together a team to work in Gotham. So you had Tim Drake, Stephanie, spoiler, Cassandra Cain, Clayface was even working with them, and what's his name? Oh shoot, what's his name? Jean Valet was was on the team too. It was kind of cool. It was nice seeing Clayface as sort of a redeemed character for a bit. That was usually I'm not crazy about redeemed villains, but that was a fun one because if you follow him from the comics, you could see how maybe his mind was a little addled and stuff. It was interesting. Bradley Renfro going over the Andy Griffith going over the top is always entertaining. Yeah, I mean the Andy Griffith show, and Fan Man's here, so I can give him the credit. Fan Man loves Andy Griffith's show as well, and he does a spot on Ernest T. Bass impression, just pitch perfect. In fact, I would like to see Fan Man cosplay Ernest T. Bass. Very, very good. But yeah, I love Matlock too. And when Don Knotts came on to Matlock for a bit, that was just fun. That was just good old comfort TV, comfort food television. Let's see. Make sure I'm not missing people here. The Imaginative Hobbyist says, as a Western fan, are you interested in checking out Kevin Costner's Horizon, an American saga, next week? It is the first of 2 parts. The second will be out in August. Haven't heard of it. Don't know anything about it. And again, not because, just because I don't follow new stuff. I really don't. I consciously try not to. I consciously, doesn't mean that maybe something new coming out might not appeal to me, and maybe one day I'll discover it, whether it's that year or 3 or 4 or 5 years down the road. I just, Hollywood has not earned my attention to follow any new stuff they put out. I'm not chomping at the bit waiting for the next new thing to come out. I just don't care about it. I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying my reasons why I don't. But I'm not opposed to Kevin Costner. I think he was horrid Jonathan Kent, and I'll never really totally forgive him for that. But it's not the actor's fault. The actors are very much complicit in the roles they decide to take on people. But he's done some great stuff, and I've appreciated his stuff before. It's debated whether or not Dances with Wolves is really a Western or a historical drama, but it was a good film nonetheless. I didn't hate his Wyatt Earp. It was unfortunate that it came out at the same time as Tombstone did, because Tombstone just, ran circles around that Wyatt Earp film. But Randy Quaid was an interesting Doc Holliday in it and stuff, and so yeah, maybe it's good. I don't know. I'll have to look into it. Let's see. Samuel Proctor. Last night I was at a special Angel Studios screening for a Finnish movie that they're thinking of distributing. It was a vote screening. That's how they greenlight things, their audience. Oh, interesting. Yeah. I don't know a lot about how that works, but that's interesting. Cool. Let's see, coming on down here, making sure I'm not missing. I mean, I'm going to read comments as they come in, but obviously there's just too many comments for me to go comment by comment. Obviously, I'll have to read the super chats and the channel members, but just going through and seeing what people are saying here. Let's see. I agree, Elfwinter. Yeah, Lucasfilm can leave the EU alone as far as I'm concerned. They would have wrecked it. And they've already wrecked the ideas they've taken from it, I mean, think about anything that the Disney Star Wars films have done after their garbage, Rey trilogy. The way they tried to, get fans back on board and all that kind of stuff was just cherry picking ideas from the EU and delivering them out of context, horridly underdeveloped, just awful. The wonderful meme. Oh shoot, do I remember how it is? The meme that I saw of Thrawn, it was it had Thrawn from the books from the EU. Thrawn from the EU, and it had a chessboard, and then it had Thrawn from the Disney new books or whatever, and it was a checkers board, and then it was Thrawn from the Ahsoka series, and it was like tic-tac-toe. It's just, the character's just so watered down. Oh man. Yeah, horrible. Let's see. Yeah, Tom King is the worst. I agree. I don't know why that man is still working. And that's why, how can you expect me to even remotely give James Gunn a chance when he willingly invited Tom King onto his panel of advisors? It's just absurd. Totally absurd. Yeah, I didn't care for a lot of Karen Travis's work on the EU either. Eldritch fan. I haven't read everything, but not a big fan of that. Where am I on the chat? I think I'm way behind. Let me jump ahead so it's not too crazy behind. I do have a super chat here. Let me get to. Come on. There we go. Studio Super, thank you so much for $9.99. Said I was Tyrone Magnus on stuff. I watched Tyrone Magnus on stuff. And him being an actor, even he admits you are the brand you work for. Because you take a role. You better do your homework on how that brand is being treated at the moment. You're absolutely right. And I don't understand why people can't understand this. Sorry. When you're just talking about the concept in hypothetically or whatever, just in general, it's easy for people to understand. Look, an actor receives a script. I don't care how hard up that actor is for work. I don't care. Okay, that actor receives a script. And it's if they don't do any research into what this movie is, how this movie is wanting to portray these characters, especially if it's a script that is a piece of beloved American folklore, various heroes or characters or franchises that already have these beloved built-in fan bases, especially if it's that. And if that actor doesn't bother, doing their research or finding out from the director what's, once they're offered the script, once they're offered the job, when they sign on to that, they're signing on to doing the film. They're signing on to doing the publicity run to actually, go out there and say wonderful things about the film, no matter what, try to convince people to go watch the film, try to convince people that this film is good for culture. Go see it, go see it, go see it. They're willingly signing on for all of that. And it's just a big load of bullcrap when people try to say it's not their fault, not their fault. And it gets worse when you bring up somebody like, oh, yeah, I understand what you're saying. Not Henry Cavill, though. He didn't get a fair chance. It's not his fault. Stop it. Stop being so crazy naive. This is ridiculous. He absolutely knew what he was doing. He made that decision. He knew what that film was doing, and he signed up for it 100%. And he went out and said all the pretty little things about it. Don't tell me, but he really didn't like it behind the scenes, and he's actually one of us. And I've had people come up with the stupidest stories like, these actors, they're going to starve if they don't take these movie scripts. I mean, they're on the street. You don't know how it is, Prof. Like, okay, tell me more about that nonsense. It just, people don't get it. It's ridiculous, this sort of just 100% pass they want to give any actor. Never the actor's fault. Never the actor's fault. Are they just cattle then? I mean, they're part of the artistic process. Somebody writes a script and they put their messaging and their artistic vision into it. Sure. But then they give it to a director, and the director's going to put their own spin on it. And the actors, even though the actors are subject to the director and have to do what they say, the actors are putting their own interpretation and spin on it. It's something they sign up to do, and it's something that, I don't care if you're that. If it's either you starve or you deconstruct a beloved American folklore character, go work at McDonald's then. No, you don't get a pass from me on that. Absolutely not. Ugh. This stuff, I should not have eaten those pretzels right before. It's still in the wrong pipe. Nathaniel's Lowsball, have you given some thought to my question from last week? Favorite Kingdom Hearts bosses on Disney and non-Disney characters. It's still so hard. I did think about that, and I thought, I know Nathaniel's Lowsball is going to ask me that again. I know he is. It's just so hard. So I said I like Captain Hook. That was a fun and a challenging one. I might be missing. I might be just not thinking of one. So if I say a couple and somebody's like, "But what about this?" It might just be because I didn't think about that on the queue there. From Kingdom Hearts 2 though, that is such a great game. I'm replaying that because Alyssa likes me to play that, and I give her a little controller that she pretends that she's playing, and she loves it. Um, some of the Organization 13 are kind of fun to fight. I can't remember his name. What's the one that makes the water dance? And he's so easy to beat, the first few times you see him. And then he shows up later and it's like, oh, wow, that's a little challenging. He was interesting. I'm sorry, man. Sorry. They're all fun. They're all fun. It's fun beating Oogie Boogie on in the Nightmare Before Christmas too. That's a good one. Like when you finally defeat him and he just falls apart like in the movie. Let's see. Oh, heck yeah. Eldritch fan, would you turn down a paycheck? In a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. I turn down YouTube money all the time by not jumping on the YouTube bandwagon, by not reviewing every little thing that Disney points out. My channel could be huge right now. Not because of anything I've done, but just because I was able to make it past the threshold of a certain number of subscribers where the algorithm would be listening if I started playing the algorithm game, So I could very easily, jump on the bandwagon and be like all the other fighting the good fight, talking about the evils of this and that, and reviewing every new Disney thing they put out or every story. My channel could be just, as big as some of those others by now. But I won't do it. I don't care if you offer me the money. I'm not gonna sacrifice my integrity. Eldritch fan, you say I missed your super chat. Let me see. Going back to find it here. Yeah, I was too far behind in the chats there for a bit. And I missed Fan Man's super chat too. Hang on. All right, Eldritch fan. Thanks for pointing out that I forgot it. Thoughts on archetype team ups in Maximum Carnage? I'm not as familiar with that storyline. Like I said, I'm no expert on the Spider-Man, Venom, and Carnage characters as much as other people are, and I don't know that I ever really even read that run in the comics. I grew up a DC guy mainly, but I know there are archetypes or team ups there. Or are you talking about the film stuff they did? I don't know. But you've got all the interesting archetypes there. You've got anti-hero or villain turn anti-hero, as well as villain and stuff like that. Fortunately, I can't really give you a good answer to that question because I'm just not as familiar with it as I know some like Marvel people are. Oops. Yep, there's Fan Man's. That's his line that he says when he's doing the Ernest T. Bass. I won't do the voice because I can't do it, but that's his that's his quote there. He was doing that at Santa Graver and I's wedding. Him and Sandman and his wife were seated at the table with my mother and my aunt and uncle, and they were just cracking up over there because Fan Man was doing all of his impressions and stuff. I'm sure Fan Man's wife's like, again, but that was awesome. All right, I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody else's because I did kind of scroll down fast there. All right, I don't think so. Yeah, I got it. We're good now. Go back to where it was so I don't get so far behind. Let's see. Yep, Sound Engraver like Captain Hook's. Plus, you get when you defeat Captain Hook in Kingdom Hearts, you get his skill, the Ars Arcana. Is that how you pronounce it? But it uses some MP, but you get that move, with the sword, really quick, quick thrusts and everything like that to take out the enemy, which is pretty fun. I like this name, Midwit Productions. Issue with Thrawn is that he's being written by Filoni, who is a bad writer. 100%. 100%. He's a horrible writer. And he really did have everybody fooled. And it's a good lesson, too. Just because somebody is listed as a producer and they get a writing credit. A lot of producers get writing credits, but that doesn't mean they're really responsible for the writing. A lot of times producers who get a writing credit are just sort of the idea man. And ideas are important. Good ideas are important, but ideas are the easiest part, ultimately, of the writing process. A good writer can still got Sound Engraver's comment up there. A good writer can take a subpar idea or even a bad idea if they're a really good writer and make it work, and a lot of times, and we all thought, I was duped as well, looking at the Clone Wars and a lot of there was some really, for all the garbage in the Clone Wars series, and the Ahsoka and all this kind of nonsense, there were some incredibly well-written episodes in the Clone Wars, and there's a lot of great things about the Clone Wars. And, David Filoni was on top of that. He's the helmsman and all that kind of stuff. So we thought, okay, him, he's the one responsible for all this. And then I think the first thing Sound Engraver was showing me, the first thing that he ever wrote that was 100% all his, or he was billed as the only sole writer, was Siege of Mandalore. And it was garbage, straight garbage, just awful. Studio Super, thank you for the $9.99. Said Maximum Carnage I put on the same plane as Superman versus the Elite in Kingdom Come in terms of criticizing the grim, gritty 90s. Oh, that's cool. Well, I'm definitely going to have to go check that out then. He has a grim problem for our heroes, but their optimism wins out. That's awesome. Yeah, it's always on my list to read more of classic Spider-Man stories. Birdman, soundtracks with Birdman. Daniel actually sent me Kraven's Last Hunt, and I've got some books like that, and I think the original symbiote saga and whatnot, when Peter finds the costume and stuff like that. So yeah, I've got to go read some more, because I love with Spider-Man, I really like the animated series, the 90s animated series, of course, but was it Spectacular Spider-Man, the one that ended too short? That was really good as well. And of course Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. So yeah, I'm more schooled in Spider-Man animation than I am in his runs of comics, but I need to rectify that. All right. So I am nearing my my stream limit here, nearing the end of my energy for stream, but we'll chat for another minute or two here. Sean says the Filoni thing reminds me of Avatar, The Last Airbender. The writers were definitely not the geniuses behind it everyone thought they were. Lots of other people really made it. Same with Kevin Feige. I didn't know that. I do know that Last Airbender, everybody's a beloved show. Alec Purdue actually sent me the DVD series that Sound Engraver and I are going to watch one of these days when we get around to it. But yeah, the next one that came, the one after that, apparently is where they dropped the ball. Apparently, but I haven't watched them yet, so I don't know. And this is true too, Eldritch fan. The problem with the new Thrawn, how to maintain that he's a threat when he keeps losing to insignificant rebels. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. All of the ooh and awe and mystique about Thrawn in Disney's content comes from what you know about Thrawn in the EU, which they're saying never happened. So they're just bringing in this character that they haven't earned any of the clout of this character at all. They haven't earned any of that, and they're just trying to play off of that, and they're not even trying to earn it. He's just, he's the whipping boy for Ahsoka because she's awesome. She's the embodiment of the very Force itself. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Spidey Rules said, Bruce Timm is in a similar boat as Dave Filoni. You're right, but at least Tim can design characters well. Though I can't stand his constant push for Bruce Barber relationship. Yeah, Bruce Timm showed his true colors. He is no storyteller. He's an amazing artist, like you said, amazing character design. We'll forever owe him for the beautiful and amazing aesthetic that he brought to that. But no, he's not a writer. That he's shown that on his stuff. That anything he's written without Paul Dini, it's just been like, bro, what are you thinking? What are you doing? um, Tom Spiegel, thank you so much for the 1999 super chat. I very much appreciate it. You said in The Fall Guy, a character got a producer credit because she handed over evidence. Her credit had nothing to do with the movie within a movie. Producer credit in real life are probably similar. Yeah, you're right. Producer credits are, uh, very tenuous. They don't mean much of anything. Or they don't have to mean much of anything. There are producers who do some producing work, production work. But yeah, you're right. You can get a production credit in Hollywood for something very, minor. Uh, but those producers who are kind of stick with a series or something like that, or who are the showrunners like Filoni. I mean, so many writers deserve more credit than he did on all those things that happened in Clone Wars. Good points. Ghost Planet Maxine. I don't know. I think you might have been starting a conversation with other people, but you're talking about Betty and Veronica, the Archie. I loved Archie comics. And January Andrews, yeah, she was great. She was in Jughead's Time Police. I love that run. That was really good. That's good stuff. Sound Engraver. Ahsoka's amazing. She really is, and her following, she inspires the same type of ridiculous following that Rey does. It's like, Slay Queen, yes, and they pretend that no, she's not a Mary Sue. No, she's the alternative, and they're just so blind to it. Yeah, it's precious. Let's see. Oh, this is an interesting question. Eldridge fan. Best example of storytelling via atmosphere in a video game. Not text or dialogue. Storytelling conveyed in the atmosphere of the game. What's an example you're thinking of? Because, okay, for example, in the original Super Mario Bros., every third level is a night level. It's a 3-day journey. Interesting. Okay, so I see what you're thinking on an even deeper level. I'd have to think about that because, see, for me with video games, the thing that draws me to a video game is that it's a good story. So the video games that I know well are things like, L.A. Noire, Witcher, Red Dead Redemption, Kingdom Hearts, things like that. I like really good story. Knights of the Old Republic, So I don't know if I've played enough games that aren't solid story on the same level. But do have an interesting story behind the scenes. Like, that's really interesting what you said about Mario with every third level being a dark level and sort of the 3-day journeys. I'd never really thought, I guess I've never really thought that much into games that don't have a more scripted out story. But that'd be an interesting process or experiment to do. I'd have to think about that. Thanks for bringing that up. All right. I am probably close to tapping out here. Filmation Archie. Yeah, that was good stuff too. A troll. Although I love a lot of the Archie animated stuff. The classic Archie, yeah, the Filmation Archie, and Sabrina, that was good. But I loved the new Archie and New Adventures of Archie they did in the 80s when they were, or 90s when they were like middle schoolers. That was fun. Of course, the pinnacle of Archie for me animated is Archie's Weird Mysteries. You just can't get better than that. That's wonderful. Love that. So this is getting close to that time of the year where I start watching that again. Yeah, that was awesome. So yeah, I was a big Archie fan. Not a fan of the newer stuff they're doing with them, but yeah, I love the Archies growing up. Never did play Dark Souls. Is that one of the more atmospheric games? I know it's got the reputation for being just so difficult. It's very dark and whatnot. Never played those. But yeah, I would imagine that Castlevania atmosphere, Silent Hill atmosphere. Yeah, those are good. Those are good. Good ideas. Metroidvania games can convey storytelling via atmosphere. It's an interesting thought. Yeah, KOTOR is just the best. So classic, and I was so happy when the remake fell through. please never touch that game. Nobody ever. If anybody ever does anything to the KOTOR games, restore KOTOR 2, and there's like fan-made patches and stuff like that where you can get more of the story. But, if you want to be true to the original game, don't update the graphics. Don't do any of that garbage. I want it looking exactly like it looks, playing exactly like it plays, but finish out that story that they didn't quite get to do. And then if one day, I don't trust anybody in the industry to do it now, but if one day they ever got Drew Karpyshyn and the people, as many people who are still around that worked on those games back in the day, to come back and finish out their intended end of the trilogy, because they were originally going to make 3 games and they had sort of a trajectory in mind when they were writing the stories, from Revan and Bastila to the Exile, Meet Your Cirque, of course. Eventually we find our name is in the EU books and whatnot. And then they had a trajectory. I don't know how much it was fleshed out, but they had an idea for the 3rd game. And then they decided to take it away from them, take it away from BioWare, and make it the MMO, Star Wars The Old Republic, which I don't hate the Star Wars The Old Republic by any means. It's a lot of fun. It's great to be walking around in that universe, but it's a tragedy we never got the real ending to that trilogy. Definitely. All right. Got a couple super chats here, and then I think I'm going to tap out for the night. Few of them, actually. Eldritch Fan for 199, thank you so much, said, if you could play KOTOR 3, what would the story be? I don't even want to speculate on that. Now, I would imagine a couple things, though, that we would probably... I don't think we'd go back to play Revan or anything. I think we would probably play another character. I don't know. Drew Karpyshyn did write the Revan novel. I don't know if maybe he'd have gone for Darth Scourge or something. I don't know. But I think we would have played another character linked to this a little down the line who still had, kind of like the Exile did. She was part of the story, even though we're a little later in the chronology of it. It's fun to think about. I'd love to interview somebody like Drew Karpyshyn or somebody willing to talk about the ideas that they had. I don't know if they can talk about it. Maybe it's a, non-disclosure kind of thing or whatever. I don't know. But it's a good question. It's something fun to think about. Spidey, our Studio Super, thank you so much, said, Night at the Museum has a quote I think greatly describes the difference between aspirational and cathartic motivational characters. Some men are born great. Others have greatness thrust upon them. Yeah, that's a quote from History, too. Who's the one that said that? Was it Roosevelt? Or somebody said that? I don't know. It's a quote from History, too. But yeah, it's a good quote to apply to the heroic archetypes there. I'm blanking about that. Who said that? Oh, Winston Churchill? I can't remember exactly who said that. But Nathaniel Zaluzball, thank you very much, said, did you ever finish Mass Effect by any chance? Next to Metroid and Halo, Mass Effect is one of my favorite science fiction games. I was trying to think of the name of Mass Effect when I was talking about story games, and it was just escaping me there. But yeah, Mass Effect is a great one too. I didn't finish the whole game. I got a little lost because, a lot of those cool, and I love it, but BioWare's games where you got different quests and stuff like that, especially for Mass Effect, once you got your ship and you can go to other planets, it's easy to kind of start taking in the story a little out of order. So I backed up and I wanted to go look at some tutorials and just not to ruin the game for me, but to make sure I was playing in order. But then every single tutorial I could find was for the Legendary Edition or the Collector's Edition or whatever, where they add a bunch of stuff in. And I don't have that edition. I've just got the Xbox 360 with the original Mass Effect. But I really do want to play it through, or maybe I'll get the Legendary Edition or whatever, because people have told me how Mass Effect 2 is supposed to be so great as well. So that's, definitely want to finish playing through those. I mean, it's BioWare, and it was a fun start to the game. I enjoyed it. Andre Hernandez for $5. What are your thoughts on Superman 2, both versions? What about 3, 4, and Returns? First of all, anytime Christopher Reeves is in the Superman suit, it's worth watching. Okay, Christopher Reeves, sorry. Worth watching, always. Doesn't matter. He's never played the character in a way that the character should be played or anything like that. Superman 2, both versions have issues here and there. Neither are perfect. The only perfectly iconic, pristine movie we've ever had of Superman is Superman the movie. But I appreciate things about the Lester version as well as the Donner cut. I'm not somebody that's just like, oh, the Lester version is crap, No, I appreciate things about both versions of those. I appreciate things about 3 and 4. I think there were a lot of great ideas in both of those. There is a movie, I think it's a fan edit called Superman Redeemed, which I have a copy of, and I haven't yet to watch it, but it's where they edit together all of those movies in a way that kind of tells a more coherent story or something like that. I need to watch that and see, but that's out there. Look for the fan edit. I think it's called Superman Redeemed. As for Superman Returns, I think it deserves way more credit than it gets. It's sad because it wasn't a great Superman story. It made Superman do things that he shouldn't have done, and that's just a fact. But it was close, and it got some things incredibly right. And the movie itself, the story itself, is an incredibly well-written story, incredibly well-directed film, but it does some things with Superman that you just shouldn't do, and the writers and singers should have known that. But it's worth it seeing Brandon Routh in the outfit, in the costume, because I think he was definitely a worthy successor. Definitely. Good question, though. You asked me that question at the end here. I could very easily just take off, but I just don't have the energy now. Ask me something more about that when it comes to the beginning of the next stream. We'll get more into that. But I'm over my hour mark now, and I am wiped, so I'm going to have to call it. But thank you guys for hanging out tonight. Thanks for the engagement. Very much appreciated. I don't think I missed anybody's super chats. Just want to double check there, but I don't think I did. You can yell out desperately in the comment section if I did, but I don't think I did. But yeah, good hanging out with you guys as always. Thanks for the traffic and the engagement. And I'll be back next week with more. I will have some cutout videos, perhaps of this stream, but there's one cutout video from last week's live stream that I still need to put out. I just released a cutout from the last episode of the Iconicast podcast earlier today, talking about the deconstructing of heroes with High Noon versus Rio Bravo. So I'll have some more content this week, and I'll have another stream next week. Thank you guys for hanging out. Till next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the true blue hero stories you love. And I'm going to go veg and just shut my mind off for a while. See ya.